Hello, welcome to episode 37 of the Harry Potter painting series, and this one we're doing a pumpkin patch. Forms part of the terrain in the actual miniatures game. So let's get straight into it. Here we go. Right. This is the pumpkin patch that you get in the game. It's obviously just a card template. It takes up 5 squares on the board. But I wanted to make something in 3D after seeing Ian Hawkins. He printed off a few mushrooms of his own and they look really cool. So I thought, I'd like to do something similar. So I found these. I've been painting some of Grabblecast stuff in the past, like a vending machine and post boxes and stuff like that. But they ventured into doing these pumpkins and I thought they're ideal. Nice scale, lovely quality casts, and you've got 10 in a set. They're all various shapes and sizes, as you can see. It's a nice Halloween one there with a face on it. So I thought these would be perfect. So I've ordered 3 bags. 3 bags of 10, so I've got 20 sitting off to the side here. So for the template, I've got this sheet of white styrene. I got it in Hobbycraft. It's quite thin. I think it says there 0.04 of an inch. So that's, I don't know, I'm guessing it's about 2 millimeters thick, if that. Is quite sturdy. And I've marked out that length is there 3 squares, so that's 90 mil and that's 60 mil, and obviously I've cut out a square of 30 mils there. So that's going to be the base on which they sit. So putting on 10, just dropped it now. Putting on 10 there doesn't quite fill it, so I'm glad that I've ordered three sets of 10. So I can use, well, I'm going to do 2 anyway, so I've marked out another template there. So I reckon about 15 on a square should be, 15 on the template I should say, should be pretty good. So the next stage is just to cut it out, so we'll come back after once I've done that. So there's a template cut out. I say it was thin enough just to use a craft knife and a steel rule to cut it out. I tidied up the edges just like you would any mould liner and just scraped along the edges just to tidy it up. I think that's the beauty of using some plastic card rather than anything else. I think you could use just thick card, or a little bit of cardboard. It's totally up to you. Anything that won't warp. So I'll go out to the garage. I've already prepared this lot here on my priming board, so I'll add the pumpkins onto the board, just fix them on with a bit of blue tack, and I'll go out and prime them. So that'll be the next stage when we come back. Okay, so I've given them a prime with my Halford's Grey, and I'm just going to give them a dusting over the top with white using my hairbrush. If you're wondering what these things are, they're by Grabblecast as well, but they're like books. I was going to use them as spell books. So I'll just give them a quick dusting from above. And for the pumpkins, we'll go on the top. From when you look at the side now, the pumpkins are grey from about halfway down and white towards the top is what I'm after. Just a little bit of colour variation from when we start applying the oranges. It should be a brighter orange towards the top then. Okay, that's that bit done. So I'm going to have a bit of an experiment with the group of 10 over here. Sometimes when, at Halloween you go to Tesco's or supermarket and you pick them up and there's little patches of like a light brown on them, and they look like some kind of growth, but I don't know what it is, but I'm going to add some of that to start with. What I'm using is, I think it's Vallejo's orange brown mixed with a bit of bone, just to lighten it up a bit. So I'm just going to go up the top area to start with. I don't know how to explain what this stuff is, but I don't know whether I go to Tesco's late towards Halloween and pick up the rubbish ones. I never seem to have a bright orange pumpkin when I go there. Right, I'll leave that dry, and I'm going to give it a quick spray with hairspray so I can use like a chipping technique to remove when I apply the orange paint. I use like a chipping technique to take away the orange paint, so this will show underneath it. That's the plan anyway. It's just an experiment. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so the experiment continues. Off camera I sprayed it with hairspray, and then I've added one coat of Jokearo orange. It's a Citadel, it's like a desaturated orange, it's quite nice. And I'm going in with a second coat now, just to make sure that I've missed any spots, which you can probably see that I have there. I'm just hoping this works. It's a bit of fun, as I said, it's a quick experiment. So we'll leave that to dry and we'll come back. Okay, so that's 2 coats of the orange. What I've got now is a pretty stiff brush now, and I'm dipping it in like lukewarm water. And you just activate the paint first. And then you stipple away to remove some of the orange paint, and then the buff colour will show underneath. I'm not going to go all the way around because it only happens now and again on the ones that I've seen. So I'm going to leave it as that, and we'll go on to the next stage. Okay, back to the base. I wanted to make a mud effect to go underneath the pumpkins, and I got this stuff a while ago, the Scale 75 mud effects. And the idea is that you mix in this pigment in with that, and you mix it up and then apply it to the base. Now that's what it looks like. You know, it's nice mud, but it's not the effect I was after. I just want runny mud, and it's just too textured for what I wanted, because I know I'm a fussy bugger. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of the mud effect. I'm and replace that with PVA glue. So I've got a little pot, and I'm going to add in the PVA. Make sure you've got enough to cover the base. This may take a while because it's getting towards the end of the bottle now. Starting to run out. That should do. And add in the pigment. Let's give it a stir. There's no great technique to it, you just slap it on the base. Well, I think the trick is after, well, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Right, so I'm just going to tip it onto the base and spread it out. It looks like Nutella, but, so I'm making myself sick now because I don't like Nutella. So push it towards the edges, spread it out. I think I got a bit too much PVA in here. Well, it depends on how thick you want it on the base, I suppose. I'm going for thick. Once you get to spreading it all out, one thing I discovered is that you take the other end of the tool now, or get the end of a paintbrush. Let's leave that there. Get the end of a paintbrush and just dab it in to make little peaks. You know, like on, if your missus does meringues, she'll go and get her and she'll do this bit for you. Let's make little peaks here and there. And do this during a dry-in period as well. So I'll come back to it in about half an hour and do the same again. And you should get a nice little bit of texture on it, and that's what I've ended up with. Now I prefer that to the one we did earlier. I used a different pigment on that one. It was like a light, what was it? Natural soil. I didn't really like that, so I went for the dark mud on that one. So that's what it's going to dry like. And I much prefer that one. The only thing is, when it comes to attaching the pumpkins, I'm either going to have to put a thick bit of PVA underneath it, so it adheres to the surface and sinks in a little bit, or when that's getting close to being dry, you add your pumpkins on there. I'm going to go for the first option. In fact, I might even mix up some more of this just before I apply them to the base, stick it underneath the pumpkin and then plop it on the top. Right, so that's that. We're ready to go on to the next stage. Right, I've left everything for a couple of hours to dry properly, just in case I make any mistakes and remove any more orange paint that I don't want to remove. But, so the chipping went well, and what I'm starting to do is to try and outline between where I've done the chipping and the orange of the pumpkin, just to try and make the lighter bit stand out a bit more. It might work, it might not, but I'm having a go. Let's leave it like that for now, but what I need to do is to go back to the original Jokearo orange and try and add a little bit more up the sides just to give it a little bit of a bit more colour, because it's looking a bit washed out. Some parts of it is looking okay, but other bits it needs more. Like this bit here, you can see it's more brown than anything, but that might work in our favour. But so I'm just rambling now. Right. Next stage is a wash. Okay, so this is what we're going to use now. Just going to use it straight from the pot. There. I'm just going to keep it simple and just go in the grooves. And go as thick as you like. If you don't get enough contrast in the first pass, you can always add another coat. I think it's going okay so far. Well, the plan is I'm going to do another coat anyway, but I'll just do it from about halfway and work my way down again, so it's even darker down the bottom, which fits with what we've done with the priming and the other colours. Right, leave that dry. So for the top part of the pumpkin, I've got Vallejo's Deck Tan, but something like Shabty Bone, or even better, Screaming Skull, because that's lighter again. Will do for the top bit. And then for the sides, I've got Castellan Green. Let's give it a quick shake. For the sides of the, the top part of the stalk, I suppose it's called. This might take a couple of coats. Doesn't seem to be going on too well over orange. Definitely 2 coats required. I don't want to go too thick. Going back to the orange wash again. I'm just going to stay down the bottom half of the grooves now. So just reapply it there. Hasn't dried on some of them. Another coat on the top. And some more green on the sides. I might get in there. I might add the bone colour to the green now for a highlight, just to pick out some bits when that dries, but I think we're nearly there. I've just mixed the bony colour and the green together, and I'm just doing stripes up the side. Oh dear. Oh, paint's still wet. I'm gonna have to wait for it to dry. So while that's drying, I'll add Troll Slayer Orange to a little bit of the original colour, Jokearo Orange. I'm thinning it down a bit. And I might just add little changes in tone here and there. No real need to do it, but I think it'll look good. Okay. Sorry, just blowing the top part for it to dry. Because I haven't got my hairdryer going tonight. Let's try again with a stripe. Nah, still too wet. You get the idea. Right, so the next stage will be adding them to the base now. So if you found that method too much of a faff, I've got some other ones here, and we'll do it more of a tabletop version now. So I've got the Jokearo Orange. I'm just going to work my way around. Let's give it a nice even coat. It'll be good to compare both when we're done. Don't forget the tops. As you can see, I've already added the Castellan green to the stalk and the bony colour. Oh, I just dipped my brush in the green by mistake there. Quite like that actually. I might leave that. Happy accident. Alright, leave that dry. So that's 2 coats of the Jokearo Orange. I've mixed 50-50 with Troll Slayer Orange now. I'm just doing the top half. And I get the the wash ready. Again, straight out of the pot. I'm not even going to bother washing my brush, I'll just put the wash straight on. Just keeping in the grooves. If you do spill some onto the main segments, you can just go over the top with the base colour again. And I don't think I'm going to do anything more. Let's just leave it like that. Pumpkins. If you wanted to put a little bit of Agrax or sepia in the top there, crack on, give a little bit more contrast, but I don't think you'll really need it. I'm going to do the rest of these and then we'll add them to the base. Okay, so all the pumpkins are ready to add to the base. I'm going to cheat and use the glue that I put on top of this other base earlier. I'm just going to dip them in the PVA that we mixed with the filler. I'm just going to attach them to the base. The good thing is that the PVA is going to act as PVA and seal them to the base, so it's going to, it should look okay. So we got 15 done. I'm hoping that that'll be enough to fill it out. So I'll carry on with this and we'll come back. So there we are, all glued to the base. I'm going to add some tufts of grass here and there, so I'll wait for them to dry first before I go any further, but no, fairly happy. Righto, on to the next stage. I wanted to add some vegetation to the base, so I've got some tufts from, I think they're from Army Painter. These are just meadow flowers, I think. These are grass tufts. I've got a bit of ivy to represent weeds, and I might put the odd little bit of static grass on there as well. So I've got my PVA ready in a pot, and I'll just transfer it from the pot onto the base in little blobs and start attaching. Okay, so I've got my base. I'll just put little blobs of PVA here and there. I just added a tiny bit of water just to stretch it out a wee bit. We'll see how it goes. And we've got the foliage. Obviously we've got yellow ones there just to switch it up a little bit. You can either dip it into the PVA or put it on the base, but I've decided to put it on the base ready. I'll do a tuft next. So dip it in. Work it on. Don't worry about the glue going anywhere because it does dry clear if you're not used to it. Might be a little bit shiny, but it does Let's go clear, just pull off the excess strands there. Right, bit of ivy for weeds. This stuff is really good if you can get hold of it. Miniature Display Products does it in the UK. Great mail order service. He's got all sorts of different types of ivy as well. Now then, should we go in the middle? I think so. Right, I'm going to carry on going around the base, and I'll come back when I'm done. I forgot about using static grass straight out of the tub. What I usually do is get a pair of tweezers, grab a clump, knock off the excess, and you'll see the strands poking down. So you want to go into the PVA with the strands so they adhere to the glue quite quickly, and then just tap off the excess. So just turn it over, tap it back into the pot, and it's a bit different from using a tuft. So I think it's a lot cheaper as well. If you buy just static grass, you can make your own tufts then. Might take a little bit of teasing, but it looks okay. Alright, let's carry on. The last part that I wanted to use was this grass, and obviously it's too long, but I just take a couple of strands and I'll cut them down to about, well, less than a centimetre long. Let's get my scissors. It's just to make a bunch. You can do different lengths as well. Go a bit shorter with that one. And bunch it together, dip it in the PVA, and it makes for a more interesting clump of foliage. So dip it in the PVA, and the trick is if you add it into a clump that you've already got there, it makes it easier to stand them up. It'll take a bit of teasing and tweezing with your tweezers to get them to stand up, but I think it might be worth it. So I think we're nearly there with the foliage. So I'll take some nice pictures and do a wrap up. Okay, there we go, finished. I made a mistake. It's actually Model Display Products that make the ivy part of the foliage that I used. I used GW static grass and Army Painter tufts. The Pumkins, they're from a company called Grabblecast. As I say, they're fantastic quality resin, really nice to work with. No mold lines on them whatsoever. Yeah, really good. Yeah, so we're done with that one. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll just give you a quick spin. Hope my finger doesn't get into the shot, but should be okay. The only thing is now Hagrid's base doesn't exactly fit with the terrain, but I'm not bothered at all. So there we are, another video done. Hope you enjoyed it. If you get stuck on anything, give us a shout. I'll try and help you out as much as I can. But for now, that's it for me. We'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.